Do you want to lose weight but struggle to stay committed to a meal plan because you constantly feel hungry? Does food provide you comfort when you are bored, angry, lonely, or sad? If so, you are in the right place. My name is Kristen Jones, and I'm a life coach specializing in emotional eating and weight loss, and I'm also a lifelong emotional eater. I want to provide you with information, motivation, and support so you too can learn to manage your issues with food and develop a healthy relationship with yourself. Welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. Welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you as always for joining me. This week we have I am so excited about this episode. We have a very special guest, and we're going to be talking about something that we have been talking about in my Facebook group quite a bit this week. And it's a topic on everyone's mind at this time of year, and that would be sugar. And so the name of our podcast this week is Don't Let Sugar and Your Limiting Beliefs Control Your Life. And I have a very special guest, Jeannie DeSimoni, who is going to be just sharing a little bit of her story about us working together and what she's kind of been through the last 6 to 7 weeks that we've been working together. So I'm really, really excited about that. But before we jump into the podcast, as I always like to do, I always want to remind everybody, if you're listening to this on the podcast and you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community, please jump over to Facebook and join us. It is an amazing community. I am so very honored and grateful for everyone who's a participant, everyone who's a member of the group. It is just absolutely amazing. It's just a bunch of like-minded individuals who are all working and supporting each other towards developing a healthier relationship with food, with themselves, and really addressing emotional eating issues and really just making their lives better in general. So it's just a really great place to be, and I'd love to have you come join us. So please go to www.facebook.com/groups/food-breakthrough and join the group. There are 3 membership questions when you come in. That's all you got to do. Answer the questions and you are in. There is tons of resources, tons of information, lots of trainings that happen. So we definitely want you there. As I always do every week on my podcast, I always like to do either a member or a client shout out. And this week it's going to be a member shout out. I want to extend a special welcome to, I am going to say, approximately 150 people have joined the group since Monday. Since Monday, y'all, that's like 4.5 days. And we have 150 new members. And I am just so honored and I welcome all of you. And I've been in communication with a lot of you. So thank you so much for reaching out and for participating and just jumping into the group. It's so amazing. There's so much energy. One in particular member I want to just kind of give a little shout out to, and I want to make sure I get her name. She came into the group on Monday and she has absolutely just blossomed in a sense of her just wanting to participate, wanting to do as many things as she can in the group and taking just all sorts of suggestions. And she has been just a joy to communicate with and talk to. And I'm so honored to have her in the group. So Becky, keep it up. Thank you for being here. And thank you for just adding so much positivity and just your energy to the group. So super happy that you're here. All right, let's get on to the main event. So everyone, this is Jeannie DeSimoni, and Jeannie and I have been working together for about the last 7 weeks or so, 6 to 7 weeks. And I wanted to have Jeannie on because, one, what we've been talking about in the last few days has just been so just paralleling what Jeannie has been dealing with and going through in the last 6 to 8 weeks. And I really felt that it was so appropriate to have her come on and share a little bit of her story and where she has been and where she has gotten to and where she's going to be headed to. And just I really hope, and what my desire is for this to really be some inspiration and some hope and some belief for all of you that you absolutely can accomplish anything, even the thing that you thought was the most impossible. And I will let Jeannie tell a little bit more about that. So, Jeannie, welcome to the podcast. Super happy you're here. And can you just tell us a little bit, a little bit about you personally? And I'd love to, I don't think we've ever talked about how did you find the Facebook group?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Kristen, for asking me to come on today. I'm super excited. So whenever you can share a story, it just really makes you feel good. And for myself, the community is like everything, because you don't need to do this on your own. So the community definitely makes a difference. So for me, I found you on Facebook, and I don't know, I was either I've been in a couple different podcast groups or different groups about losing weight or keto diets or healthier version, no sugar. And so I stumbled upon you. I don't even know how it came. And I started reading some of the stuff and I'm like, oh, this makes pretty good sense. But I have to say in the very beginning, I'm like, can't be just as easy as changing your mind, because we would all be thin, right? So I'm like, I don't know. But I started reading it and started listening to some podcasts and stuff. And I'm like, this gal knows what she's talking about. I want to know more. So I started listening to the podcasts, and I still haven't gone through all of them yet. But it's been very inspirational for me. And I just kept wanting to learn more and more and more. So reading your book right now, not all the way through with it yet, but it's just good information. So that's how I came upon you as far as on Facebook.
That's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about what was going on with you before we started working together, and what kind of prompted you to kind of take that next step and decide to reach out and for us to start, talking and eventually start working together?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll tell you, so for myself, I've kind of battled weight my entire life. So I've always back in high school, it was calories in, calories out. So as long as you only eat a Snicker and an apple, you're fine, right? Not even getting the sugar thing at all. And then we went through the fat-free craze, right? Where it's fat-free, but it's loaded with sugar, and never knew anything about the sugar part. It was just off my radar. So I've always kind of, struggled with that. And I used to say, oh my gosh, I've got a sweet tooth and I love sugar, and I can't stop at just one. I'm better off to not have anything than to open that floodgate, have it, a couple M&Ms, it's going to be the whole bag, or one or two Oreos, it's going to be a whole sleeve or whatever. So that for me, it's just always been a struggle that way. So for myself, I'm remarried. I have 2 stepchildren and 1 child of my own that are not children anymore. They're adults. So between my husband and my own child, the 3 children got married within a matter of 25 months. So we had an August of 18 wedding, an August of 19 wedding, and a September of 20 wedding. And for me, those were the big focal points. I wanted to look good. I wanted to look good at these weddings. And so before the August 18 wedding, it was probably around May or so of 18. So it's about 2.5 years ago. I was just at a point where I wasn't happy with myself. I just felt like a stuffed sausage is what I always called myself. It's like I just felt squishy. I didn't feel in control of what I was eating. And I was on a work trip and I was in a hotel room one night, and I was flipping through Facebook, and I saw this thing about keto diet, and I had no idea what keto was. So I started reading up on it, and I started to look into it more, and I joined this group about keto, and I'm like, so I'm ready to throw in the towel on anything else. And so I'm like, let's go for this. So I jump in with both feet, and I do exactly what I'm supposed to do for the 7 weeks at that point, before 7 or 8 weeks from the time I started until my stepson's wedding. And I got to my goal weight. I'm just like, I did it, but I did not have 1 gram of sugar. I mean, again, honestly, even fructose, I had 0 fruit. I had 0 bread. I had 0 starchy carbs, nothing, no alcohol, nothing for that period of time. And I dropped the weight, and I was able to do it. So the wedding comes, I have a great time. But I had wine that night. I had bread with butter. I had the desserts, and I had a great time. And what I learned in this other group was that if you fall out of ketosis, then the quickest way to get back in is then to do your, I don't want to say starvation or whatever, but you're going to fast, right? So I already did intermittent fasting when I joined this group. So I pretty much have a window that I fast for 16 hours. I eat within an 8-hour period. Not that I'm eating the whole 8 hours, but that's my window to eat. So it's kind of a noon to 8 p.m. And so that's what I did. So I always do that anyway. So then the following day after the wedding, I didn't eat within my window. So then now it's the following day, now on Monday. So now you go 36 hours, and it was doable. It wasn't that hard to do, but now I was kind of at a weight that I was comfortable. And so you could have a cheat meal or a cheat day, but every time you did that, then you had to go into that fast the next time. So I'm doing it. And after many, many months, I'm like, I feel like this is a punishment, that because I had something I wanted to eat, now the next day I don't get to eat because I have to fast that entire day. And I thought, this isn't a way to live the rest of my decades of life. Hopefully, God willing, I have many, many years left, and I don't want to live like this. I felt really restricted. So kind of fell off a little bit. And then I got back on again because now it's my stepdaughter's wedding the next year. And so I get back exactly to that goal weight again, have a fabulous time. It's good. Kind of hung in there for a while, but then just noticed that I started eating a little bit more, a little bit cheating here and there, was kind of following, well, I'll just call it the dirty keto, where I wasn't like exactly on, and it was still kind of working. And now it's my son's wedding coming up or it was just this last September. And I thought, well, if I did it for the other two, I'm definitely going to do it for this one. And for me, it was just perfect timing, because you had that 5-day challenge about how to lose weight like a real person. And it was the 5 days right up to the wedding. And so I thought, well, heck, it's all or nothing now. I'm in shutdown mode. I'm going for it. So I did exactly what you said. And except I'll say, where you're like, eat normal foods here. This is going to be, I'm like, no, I can't afford to eat normal foods right now. I got to fit in that dress. And so I ate less than I normally would, for sure. But I definitely got there and a pound more to spare. So it was like, honestly, one of the best days of my life. It was just fabulous, and it was great. And at that point, then I'm like, okay, so the wedding's over with, we come home. It's kind of like life goes on, but now there's no big event in my life that I'm heading towards. And gosh, if I want to, I can eat whatever I want. So I kind of did for like the next 5 weeks or so. And before you know it, I was 8 pounds heavier. So I'd already gained back this weight. And I'm like, gosh darn it, now I'm back to the point where it's kind of a comfortable weight for me. I can pretty much eat whatever I want, but I don't like being that weight. And I didn't like how my clothes were fitting, because I'd already bought clothes that fit me at the thinner weight. And now things were feeling a little snug again. And so at that point, I'm like, I don't like this. And so for me, it was really important you got to get this under control, because I've got to find something that's going to be sustainable for the rest of my life, and not this, on or off thing. And so when you were telling, and I was listening to one of your podcasts about how, no, you can eat whatever you want. You just have to have, the quantities, and there's these, I'll say, different rules or different things to consider. And I'm like, let's look into that. So when you and I started working together, that I was all in again, and it has changed my life. I mean, just the different tools and things that you've taught me, I look at things completely different now, where I don't feel restricted. I feel that I have choices, and they're all choices, and they're not right and wrong choices. And that's the best part, that I'm not being told not to eat something, that I can have whatever I want, and just realize that you're going to fluctuate, and the number on the scale is data only, and it doesn't change who I am on the inside, and all these things that are just great reminders. And so for me, that was fabulous.
Yeah. So what do you think, what would you say well, I know we initially talked about 3, but what are 3 to 5? What are the 3 to 5 most important things that you think you learned, in this? And actually, do you mind telling people? You don't have to tell people how much you weigh, but how much weight have you lost?
I've lost a little over 10 pounds in the last, 6 weeks or so. So, and where I was at when I started was kind of my comfortable weight. I'll just say, this is the weight that my body just kind of lives. I've been there, honestly, for probably the last 20 years, off and on, right? So I've gone up, I've gone down, but this is just kind of, I used to call it my happy weight, until I realized I wasn't happy at this weight. My body was happy at this weight, but I wasn't. And so for me, it's like, okay, I just want to get into that. And what did I tell you? I think at that point it was like 8 pounds. If I could just get around 8 pounds less. So it wasn't that I had tons and tons to lose, but in my mind, this was just where I was happier. And so I'm like, okay, let's start. And I was very hesitant to start when we did start, because it's like, the 11th of November or whatever, we're heading into Thanksgiving, we're going to have Christmas. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to do this. Should I start at the beginning of the year? And I'm like, no, because I'm just going to gain that weight of the holidays, and I'll have that much more to have to lose. And so let's start it now, and let's take it with a grain of salt and go. And so for me, it was great. So like key points for me with what you taught me was first of all, food's not going anywhere. It's not like you got to eat it now or you're not going to get it again. And I kind of grew up that way, that we didn't always get desserts, and we didn't always have this. And there was a family of 5. And so you might not even want dessert that night, but if you don't eat it, it's not going to be there tomorrow. So you eat it anyway. So I ate it anyway. So I ate even when I didn't want it. So that was, the food's not going anywhere, and I can have food in the future. This isn't going to be an issue. So that was key. I kind of jotted a couple things down just because I thought they were so important. And that I have control over what I eat. And so that it's not, food doesn't control me. I control food. And
Mhm.
just getting that thought, because oftentimes you're like, oh gosh, I really feel like eating something. And you feel like, I used to think that I have to give into that urge, that craving, that it's
Mhm.
calling me. And the only way I'm going to satisfy that is if I partake and eat it. And
Mhm.
I totally learned that that's not the case at all, that those are over desires, and it's a thought, so at that point, that was key for me. So that whole, learning that that I have control over that. For me, it's the other key point that you mentioned too, is about how everything starts with your thoughts. And if you have a positive thought or a negative thought, that then moves towards your feelings. And now you're going to have a feeling based on that. And then your feelings are going to create your actions. And so
Mhm.
with that thought process of just those 3 steps, I definitely have just stopped and thought about that again. It's like, okay, is this a feeling? I'm feeling however I'm feeling. Is it true, or is it because I think something different than fact? I mean, if it's
Mhm.
fact, like you said, it can be proven,
Mhm.
where it proven in a court of law. And so
Mhm.
obviously some of these things are not proven in a court of law. So they're just feelings that I have. And so based on that, I thought, okay, so if my thoughts then promote my feelings, which promote my actions, let's have the positive thoughts. And how you told me that the negative self-talk, how that is just, it's got to go out the window. And I
Mhm.
was horrible at that beforehand. I would step on the scale in the morning. If it was anything other than what I wanted it to be, I'd be like, please don't be more than whatever
Mhm.
the number, right? And I'd step on the scale and it would be more, oh, it would set me off for the day. I would try
Mhm.
to like not let it bother me, but in the back of my mind, I was now whatever pounds heavier than I wanted to be. And I let that dictate my mood. I then said, you know what, you deserve that. Look what you ate last night. And what do you think when you don't get to the gym and when you don't get your exercise in? You deserve that. You deserve. And all I did was reinforce that this was who I was supposed to be instead of what I deserved to be. And for me, that was critical. So I thought, okay, let's change that. And just that alone has been huge, because even when the weight wasn't coming off quite as quickly as I wanted it to in the beginning,
Mhm.
and I'm like, you know what? It's okay. It's, as you told me, it's just data. When you step on the
Mhm.
scale, that number is just data. It doesn't change who I am on the inside. I'm still the same person I am at this weight, 10 pounds heavier, 20 pounds heavier, 10 pounds lighter. I am still
Mhm.
the same person. And if I can love me for who I am on the inside, the weight shouldn't make a difference. And
Mhm.
that has really been key for me, because I used to make my weight be a factor of who I was,
Mhm.
and whether or not I was deserving of being that weight or
Mhm.
deserving to be happy because of my weight. And I know now it's just hogwash. That's
Mhm.
not true at all. And that to me was really critical. So that was another point. I think I just had a couple more, the negative thoughts that, like I said, and so to be kind to yourself and give yourself grace. And so if
Mhm.
you step on the scale and that day it happens to be a little bit more than you want it to be, give yourself grace and go, okay, today my body is this weight. It doesn't change who I am. I'm going to make choices accordingly, which does not mean starve myself. I'm still
Right.
going to eat and still going to, be compensate my body for what it needs, and then move forward from there. So that was a big thing. And I think the other one key for me was only eat when you're physically hungry. And
Mhm.
how many times do we just eat, oh, it's noon, it's 2 o'clock, or it's 5 o'clock for dinner, whatever the time is, you just automatically ate. Or, I mean, I work in an office that has snacks in the break room and they're available to the employees free. You can just go and eat them. And so I have at my disposal chips and crackers and cookies and granola bars and candies and fruit roll-ups, all kinds of stuff. And anytime I want it, all day. I mean, I've got Hershey nuggets. There's all sorts
I
of
was
stuff.
gonna say, will you pull the
Yeah.
Christmas tree off your? I just want you, because Jeannie showed me this the other day, and she has this, and this sits on her desk, and it has all these little nuggets on it. And and 2 months ago, would that be full right now?
I probably would have refilled it twice already. And so I just put it in on Monday, and that's exactly how many I put in there. It's been on my desk the entire week. I have not had one. And I look
Mhm.
at it and just go, oh, they'd be kind of good. No, I don't really feel like one. And it is absolutely fine. I can take them out. I can smell them if I want to. I haven't opened the jar in the whole week. And I'm not sitting here going, oh gosh, think of other things. It is
Right.
absolutely absolutely fine that it's sitting there. I know if I want one, I can have one, but then I have to be okay with what that's going to make, how it's going to make me feel.
Mhm.
And I have to be okay with what repercussions. And so
Mhm.
as I'll open up right now. I'm 54 years old, and arthritis runs in my family, bad hips runs in my family. There's other things that it's like, I can feel the arthritis in my hands already starting. I had a hip replacement last year, and that's genetic as well, but I feel amazing at this point. And I just know that when I eat a lot of, we'll call them inflammatory foods, so whether that's high in sugars or highly processed flours and all that other stuff, that it makes my joints hurt. I don't feel good. I feel bloaty and swelling.
Mhm.
I just feel better when I'm eating right. And that doesn't mean I can't have it. I mean,
Right.
I definitely, in the time that we've worked with each other, you know, the events I've had a lot of events.
Yeah.
And for me, that has just been key, as far as the only eat when you're physically hungry. And then the other one that goes right along with that
Mhm.
is stop when you are satisfied, not full. And
Mhm.
how often did I eat until I was uncomfortably full? And now that I don't, and I stop when I'm satisfied, I'm like, wow, I really don't need as much food as I thought I did. I thought I
Mhm.
needed way more food. And now it's like, I'm satisfied. If I want to have something a little bit later, I will, but usually I don't need it. And so
Mhm.
that has made a big difference. And I think that's what's contributed to the weight coming off so easily.
Right. Well, and I, and I just want to tell everybody that Jeannie comes from like she herself has a big family, and then her husband has a big Italian family. And she has literally, I don't think there's been a weekend that you haven't had something, whether it's your mom's birthday or Thanksgiving, or, just a get together with family, that you've had things every single weekend, and we have talked through, and we've worked through, like, okay, so how are we going to come? How are you going to kind of address this when you get to this party? And what are your thoughts going to be? And it wasn't about, okay, Gene, I want you to starve all day, and then you can eat whatever you want. But you really went into everything with so much thought, and you really just allowed yourself to be able to enjoy yourself, but food did not become the focus. And that was, I remember us talking, and I
Yes.
think that was the thing that you said, I don't want food to be the center of my life anymore. Like, I don't want all my thoughts just being wrapped up in food, and it just being the only thing that you think about. And really, I mean, you're talking about golf now, and you're talking about all this, all these other things, because the food's just not an issue anymore.
That's right. That's right. And you're exactly right. Because if I stepped on the scale and it wasn't where I wanted it to be, now I had to be concerned with everything I put in my mouth that day. And it was
Mhm.
like focus, like, oh, if I had that, what's the scale going to do tomorrow? And
Mhm.
it really consumed a lot of my thought time throughout the day. And I just don't want it. I felt like I was, honestly, like I was just chained to it. Like I was a prisoner of my own thoughts because of
Mhm.
my weight. And
Mhm.
now that that's kind of released, I mean, like going into all those events, and I thought, I'm not going to starve myself. I'm not going to deny myself. So
Mhm.
I would have a piece of bread with butter on it, or I would
Mhm.
have a glass of wine, or I would have a cookie or whatever,
Mhm.
but I would stop at that and not have 5 cookies or three
Right.
glasses of wine or whatever. And that made a big difference. One of the events, my older cousin turned 60, he had a great party, and we go there, and I mean, it's 100% catered, right? And so they did a pizza oven. So all they had was pizzas, and they had a green salad, and then desserts and stuff, and an open bar. So it's whatever you want. And I'm like, so vodka soda is like the least caloric, like, alcohol drink that I found. And so I'm like, I'll have a vodka soda. And I had like one drink, a regular drink, and I nursed that thing all night long. And it wasn't because I thought I'm only going to have one. It was cold that night anyway, so I only had a little bit, and I just kind of had what I wanted throughout the night. By the end of the night, I threw away like the last inch or so in the glass. I'm like, I don't feel like this anymore. I just had that one drink the entire night. I had a couple pieces of pizza. It was thin crust pizza. I had that. I had a cookie for dessert, and I had plenty of the salad as well. But I thought, oh, probably not my best meal, right? But the
Mhm.
next day, I don't remember what the next day was. Oh, I didn't weigh myself the next day.
Right.
That was the whole thing too. That you're like,
Mhm.
just skip a day or two, and then when I
Mhm.
step back on it, like, I'm back to where I was. So regardless
Mhm.
where I was the day or two afterwards, within a couple of days, you're right back where you were. And it's like, let's move forward. But in the meantime, give yourself the grace. And I
Mhm.
think that was huge, that don't negative talk, just be positive and allow it. And it really made it so much easier.
Right, right. And one of the and I have to commend you, because you definitely were all in. I mean, you were like, this was we were you you were 100% committed, and there was not a day. Just so for those of you who are listening, one of the things that I ask my clients to do is they make their meal plan ahead of time, and they send it to me. And so that's that accountability piece, that they're making their meal plans ahead of time, and then they have an assessment in the evening. And there would be some assessments that I would get from Jeannie at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I would get assessments every single day. I don't think there was a day that you did not send me your meal plan and you did not do your assessment. And that, because that assessment, and you've mentioned that the assessment really means a lot to you, because it allows you to be able to think back on your day, and but to be proud of yourself for what you've
Yeah.
done, and recognize what you've done, and how have you talked to yourself, and what went really well, and what could you do tomorrow to make the day even better. And so there was just a lot of, there was just a full commitment on your part to really get the most out of the time that we spent together, and it's absolutely paid off for you. And it's been so amazing to see, just all of the, not, and I think you and I've talked about this, is that so often we would talk during so many of our sessions, we did not talk about food. Like,
No.
very
Yeah.
little. Like, we do not talk about food. We talk way more about our emotions and feelings, and how we process feelings, and just events in our lives, and different things like that. So you have just taken it and just and made it what it is for you. And I could not be any happier for you, because you just have worked so, and I don't want to say worked hard, because you've also said, what, please share with everyone the surprise that this has been for you.
Yeah, because I mean, even one of the questions in one of the worksheets or whatever, are you committed to making to allowing this to be hard or something like that? And I'm like, I don't want this to be hard. It isn't hard. It's a mindset. And when
Mhm.
when you make up your mind that this is for the good of you, it's easy. And on that daily assessment, the very last question is, what's your why? Right. I mean, I know
Mhm.
you have the different words, but
Right.
why are you doing this? And every day you can reaffirm to yourself, I'm doing this to be healthier, happier, live to an old age with my future grandchildren, and all that. It's like, when you know why you're doing it, and you're doing it for you, not for
Mhm.
anyone else. I mean,
Mhm.
that could be like the side effects, is it? But if you're not doing it for yourself, then get your mind right, because I think that's where it's got to start. This is for you,
Right.
and then it makes it so much easier. And for me, when I feel good about myself, I know I'm more pleasant to be around. When I'm
Mhm.
upset with myself, then I don't really want to be, friendly and social with other people as
Mhm.
well as I would if I'm happy about myself. And so
Mhm.
that makes it really easy. But again, I'm bouncing this right back to you, Kristen. It's because of the tools you've given me that has made this not difficult. It really, for me, it's the accountability is huge, and just giving me the right tools in my toolbox to move forward. And it's been great. It has
Mhm.
not been hard. It really
Right.
hasn't.
Right. So when it's so funny, because when, having the topic of sugar this week, and I
Yes.
know you had mentioned, like so many other people mentioned to me, of like, if I just eat one thing, the floodgates open. And you and I had talked, and you had said, gosh, I think I need to just cold turkey. I think I need to just stop eating sugar. And that needs to be something. And we talked about that, but
Yep.
we also talked about the other option of the fact that once we started doing the mind work and the thought work, then I think you really started to see, like, oh, it doesn't have to be the other way. It actually can be something that my relationship with sugar is different. So how would you characterize your relationship with sugar at this point?
Oh, so completely different, because beforehand that was exactly what I'd say. Like that, like again, that Christmas tree full of the nuggets. I couldn't have one. I mean, this
Hmm.
is what I told myself. You can't, if you have one, you're gonna have 10 or
Hmm.
five at least, so 5 to 10. And before you know it, that thing would be empty. And then I'd be like, oh, what the heck? And now that I already had five, I might as well have 15. I mean, and then I would just, it was a slippery slope downward. And so for me, that was just what I thought. It's like, don't even have one. And now it's like, no, I can say what I'm going to have. I
Hmm.
get to control that. That's not going to control me. And
Hmm.
so for me, it's like the last 2 nights now, I have a little bag of those Lily chocolate chips that have no additional sugar. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, when I want to make something, I will. I bought them and I haven't made anything with them. I just have the bag
Mhm.
open. So the last 2 nights, I go in there and I take 2 chocolate chips, just two, and I put them in my mouth at the same time. And I just kind of savor them. And I'm like, oh, that's really good. And I ziplock the bag and I walk out of the pantry. And
Mhm.
that's it for the whole night. And before then, I never even had that. So in the last 6, 7 weeks, I didn't even have that. Just the last 2 nights I did that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so in control of the sugar now. The sugar is just you can allow it to be a demon in your life if you want it
Mhm.
to be. And someone's going to say, well, I don't want it to be. It just is. No, it isn't. It's in your mind that it is. And when
Mhm.
you set your mind different, then you're like, no, 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 I have control over what I'm going to eat. And if sugar's part of it, I can say I'm going to have one bite of this, or I'm going to have one small cookie, or I'm going to have two cookies. But
Right.
then that's all I'm going to have. And then tomorrow I'll make better choices, or
Mhm.
choices that maybe don't have as much sugar in them or something. But
Mhm.
but yeah, I feel that I have control over sugar now. Sugar doesn't have control over me.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so exciting. I just love hearing that.
It
Well,
feels so good. It's motivating. For me, it's like I'm excited about it because I feel like I've got this power in me now that I didn't have before, that I have
right.
this mind power, this control that beforehand I felt like a victim, and now I feel like I'm driving the ship.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. And the crazy thing is here we are talking and it's a week before Christmas. And that the fact that you are, I mean, who I'm just going to throw it out to all of you out in the in who are listening. How many of you would really think that you would be 10 pounds down 7 days before Christmas and have made it through the holidays and have lost weight? And
Yeah,
that's the thing. I think you and I both can be kind of like, I can't believe this is happening.
I
I mean,
know
because
it.
it really is. It's just, and but again, it hasn't been this drudgery of like, oh, you
Nope.
can get through it. You can get through it. It was just,
Right.
it's just, and can you talk just a little bit about
Sure.
your feelings about the sustainability of this? It's, you have a husband, you travel, you do all sorts of, you're very active, socially active, obviously not during a pandemic, but you're, socially active.
Right.
So how do you see this as something that takes you through the rest of your life?
Yeah, really. So I know like the last time we talked to, I thought, okay, well, here we are this close to Christmas. And I don't want this to be like, let's just get through this holiday and who
Mhm,
got through it. Because then
mhm,
you're not living life if that's your mindset. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep making these good choices up until the holiday. We're going to have two of the three kids that are going to be here with their spouses. And so we're going to get to visit, have some dinners, have some bake. I mean, I'm going to bake this
mhm,
weekend, and I enjoy baking. So that's fun. And I love it when people like to eat what I have. So that makes it fun. But for myself, it's like, I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going to have probably a little more sugar in the
mhm,
next week. I mean, not right now, but I'll say this is Friday. Christmas is a week from today, but we're starting our Christmas on the 23rd, and then we have
mhm,
several days of it. And so, yeah, if I feel like having a treat each day, every day of that, I will. And so, and maybe even through the end of the year, honestly, because the kids are going to be here through New Year's. And so,
mhm,
if that's the case, and I'll definitely monitor it. And then I'm
mhm,
going to go, okay, so now we've got the holidays behind us, and I'm not going to have that sugar temptation again.
mhm,
It'll be okay. For myself, I think I'm really going to continue the meal planning, because
mhm,
if you think about it ahead of time and it's not on my game plan, if it's not on my meal plan, then it's like, I didn't plan to eat that, I'm not going to eat it. Where
mhm,
beforehand, it's kind of like a free for all. I'm home anyway. It's like, oh, I walk by and there's a bowl of nuts, I just take a couple of them. Well, you do that 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, and next thing you know, you've got a couple hundred extra calories and how many fat grams or whatever else. And
right.
so for me, it's definitely about planning it out. And then you're already going to plan, and like you said too, plan more than you think you're going to eat if you want to. That way it allows you to eat it if you want it, but then you don't have to eat it. You can leave
Mhm,
food on your plate and all that. And then the daily assessment in the evening, that helps, because it's like, okay, don't beat yourself up if you didn't follow it 100%, or you didn't get all the things done that you wanted to. I think for me that those are going to be key for me: meal plan,
mhm,
a daily assessment, and then just give yourself grace. I'll
mhm,
speak positive, give yourself grace on a daily basis. And I think that that's going to be key for me. I know the last time we talked in our last session that I was like, oh, I just don't know about that scale. Should I step on it every day or not?
mhm,
And it was like really enlightening when you just said, okay, the fact that you're concerned about it means that there still might be something there. And I'm like, ooh,
mhm,
you're probably right. It has controlled me for so many years that
mhm.
I still am allowing it to have power over me, where
Sure.
it's going to be like you said, it's just data. It's just
Mhm,
data. So if I step on it, whatever that number is, happens to be my data for the day, but it
mhm.
doesn't change who I am. So I
Right.
think that those thought processes are going to be key for me to be successful going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I so appreciate you doing this on a Friday night. It's just so appreciated, and I know everyone in the group is really going to benefit from this, from just hearing this. It's so inspirational. It's so motivating, and it's just and so many of you. I'm going to speak to those people in the group that so many have spoken about needing some hope and needing some belief that there is an answer out there. And I'm just going to say and it's one of the things, if you've entered this group and you've seen my Facebook ad that says diets don't work for emotional eaters, that is 100%. And I think that Jeannie is a testament to that, and my other clients as well, that when you go on a diet, if you're not addressing the other issues, if you're not addressing the thoughts and the things we say about ourselves and all of that, we're missing a huge piece that is not going to be resolved, and that weight's going to come back on. So it really is. And for you, I could not be any happier. I'm just so happy for everything that you've accomplished, that you've been able to learn. It's inspiring to me as well. So thank you. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And I so appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you even asked me, Kristen. It means a lot to me. And for myself, I just want, the one thing I'd like to leave with is just that for everyone else listening or whatever, do it for yourself, because you're worth it. And as women, especially, we give to everybody else. And who do we shortchange? Ourselves. And I am absolutely guilty of that. And you do this for yourself, and now you're a better person for everyone else too. So everyone deserves this. Everyone deserves to be this happy and to feel this good. And anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
That's perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again. And for those of you in the group or anybody listening on the podcast, if you're in a place where you're feeling like, okay, I'm totally resonating with what Jeannie's saying. I get what she's talking about. I just don't know if this is something that I can do. I really want you to reach out, drop me just a hi in the comments, anything like that. Let's talk about what that looks like, what it looks like to kind of start doing this kind of thought work. And really, that's, again, I told y'all last night, I want people in this community to feel taken care of. I want you to know that you're important, and that there are answers, and that there's things that everybody has accessible to them, because we all have a brain between our ears, and that is the key. And it's just kind of navigating and figuring out how to pull those important pieces out to be able to move you forward. So please just, again, drop me a PM, drop a comment in the chat, in the comment box. Please just know that there is help out there, and that's what the group is for. That's what we're here for. So again, Jeannie, thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it. And for everybody listening to the podcast, again, if you are not a member of the Facebook, the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook, please come and join us. And again, thank you so much for being here, Jeannie. And I appreciate all of you listening, and all of you who are watching on the telecast. And I will see you all you will not see me next week. Oh my gosh, next week is Christmas. You will not see me next week. We will resume the week after. So everybody have a safe holiday, and love your family, hug on those that you can, and just take care. Everybody have a great, safe week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.